I've owned the Hyundai Santa Fe for about 5 months now, and I like this car a lot. What I wanted to do was to make a video on the 5 things I like most about this car. We wanted a 7-passenger SUV because say we do go up to the mountain and stuff like that, then that capability is there. We also want to be able to carry up to 7 passengers just in case I want to haul my nieces and nephew around. So a 7-passenger SUV is the car that I was looking for. But I was willing to sacrifice if I found something that for some reason I really liked. So a 5-passenger SUV was also in the work, and we were not ruling that off our list. So after looking through a variety of different SUVs such as the Toyota Highlander, we did also look at the BMW X5, Infiniti QX60, those were kind of like in its class. We also did consider the Acura MDX because that's also a 7-passenger SUV. Ultimately, we decided to purchase the Hyundai Santa Fe. There are a few things that we like about the X5. There's a few things that we don't like about the X5. There's a few things that we like about the MDX and vice versa, similar to the Toyota Highlanders as well. But ultimately, we chose the Hyundai Santa Fe because it was a very nice car that has everything that we look for in terms of a SUV with the capability of doing all the things we want, and it fell into our budget, which wasn't restricting to just the Hyundai Santa Fe. We were willing to consider other cars. The technology package that comes in this car is second to none. In a sense, any new technology that's been developed by Hyundai, I think it's in this car. And of course, by the way, this is a 2017, so of course new cars are gonna have something that are new. But let me just kind of give you a list of things that you're gonna see in this new car. What we get is we get blind spot monitor, lane changing assist, lane departure warning, 360-degree cameras, electronic parking, and also HID headlamp. You have adaptive cruise control. So as I explore this car and as I continue to drive this car a lot, and by the way, this is my wife's main car, what I realize is that I like this car more than actually my wife. One of the things that really stand out for me is that the car is quiet. It's comparable to like a Mercedes class quiet. So it's comfortable. I think it's really well padded. They did a good job of dampening, putting sound dampening around the car to keep the noise out, and so you get a very comfortable ride, and your passenger can feel pretty comfortable as well. This was something I discovered when I first rented Hyundai Sonata, and I was really blown away by how quiet it is. And I was comparing it to a BMW 5 Series, because if you own a BMW 5 Series, or like say if you own like a Mercedes E-Class, you know that it's one of the pretty quiet cars. And so I was kind of like sold to Hyundai for that aspect, and I wasn't really disappointed in the Hyundai Santa Fe because they did really deliver that piece of comfort that I was looking for. And so that is one awesome feature. The auto hold is another feature that I use a lot in this car, and the only other car that I've seen it, and I'm pretty sure that it exists in many different new cars nowadays, is the Mercedes GLC. So I tested out that car because that's actually one of the cars that we did consider. It just happens to be too small for us. But so in the GLC, when you come to a red light and you press firmly on the brake, the car will hold itself in place for you. That means the car will actually lock, the brake will actually locked, and it won't move until you kind of slightly depress the gas, then it will start to move. So it allows you to kind of rest your foot a little bit while you're waiting at a red light, which is kind of like a really cool features that I found in the GLC. So we bought this car, the Santa Fe, and I did not know that that feature is also available in the Santa Fe. So one day, I didn't really read the manual or anything like that. So one day I start playing around the car and I was wondering, what does this button do? And then I pushed on that button and I came to a red light, and I firmly pressed my brake, and guess what? The car holds itself in place, just like the Mercedes. So it's a pretty cool feature that I noticed. The engine in this car, guys, is extremely powerful. It's a 3.6 liter engine. The Highlander has a 3.5. The 3.6 liter paired with a 6-speed automatic transmission, I think that goes really well together for the Hyundai Santa Fe. It has a good acceleration, and the gear shifts extremely smooth. Like you can't feel the gear shifting if you don't really pay attention to it. It's just, you don't notice it. It just kind of glides forward, and it gives enough power to move this car. And I believe this is a 5,500 pound car, but I'll double check on that number for you. And it glides through really well. If you want to accelerate and pass somebody, you have no problem in that sense. And so I think having a 3.6 cylinder with this engine, even though it's non-turbo, it makes sense. It makes perfect sense for a 7-passenger Santa Fe. So look for the one that says 3.6 liter and you won't be disappointed. I do know that they come with a 2.4 liter turbocharged engine, but I think that might only be available on a 5-seater Santa Fe. Really, really awesome feature to have. The Santa Fe has 3 different drive modes. You can have an eco drive mode, which supposedly saves gas, regular drive mode, and there's also a sport mode. Now, a sport mode, once in a while you want to try the sport mode, because what it does is it turns this car into a sport car. I think what it does is it just kind of downshifts the gear a little bit, so you would always be driving from gear 1 to gear 4. And so it makes the car, as you can kind of tell, or from the gear just being restricted to 1 to 4, it makes the car a lot more powerful. So you get a rush in acceleration, especially when you're at a red light. If you activate that and you're just cruising along 40 to 50 miles an hour and you want to just step on the gas a little harder, it will just fly you forward. Like, to my surprise, it's pretty solid for a sport mode. But of course, it weighs a little bit more gas than the non-sport mode. So that's something I do once in a while. It is nice to have it there. It's nice to use it once in a while, but ultimately a lot of my driving is on regular mode. Last thing I like about this car is the panoramic moonroof. And when you have it open, the car feels roomy, just because you just feel like you get more interior space than what it is. And at night you can open up the panoramic moonroof and get a view of the stars and of the sun. Of the stars and of the moon. So it's pretty nice, and it just looks cool. It looks really cool, even just on a daily commute. I like it a lot. Other things I do want to point out is that it does have a 5-star safety rating, and the car has airbags almost everywhere that you can imagine. There's of course the passenger airbag, driver's airbag, side airbag. The driver also has a knee airbag, and that's a really needed place for an airbag, because my sister had an accident once. She was hit head-on. She was in a Lexus GS, and the Lexus GS had a knee airbag, and it really saved her knee and her life. So that's my take on the Santa Fe. It's beautiful inside. It drives really nice. It has good cornering, if that's something that you also like to look into an SUV. It kind of turns like a sports car. It doesn't feel like I'm driving an SUV. The suspension is a little stiff, like an SUV suspension, which it should, because it's part of the SUV class. So so ride comfort wise, driver is pretty comfortable. The front passenger is really comfortable. The second row is a bit bumpy, and I think that's applicable to all the SUVs. I haven't found an SUVs except for the Lexus. Actually, the Lexus RX and the Lexus GX. Those are pretty comfortable SUVs. But besides that car, I haven't found one that's comfortable in the second row and especially the third row. But I gotta say, the third row isn't too bad. The third row is actually pretty comfortable compared to other third rows that I've sat in, such as the MDX. I didn't like their third row, but this third row in the Santa Fe is pretty comfortable. So so I guess that's my take for you on the 5 things I really like about the Hyundai Santa Fe. If you like the video, push that like button and leave me a comment. Let me know your thoughts. I'll see you in the next video.